Again, great feet. And I'm not like obsessed with feet or anything. Don't get the wrong idea. Maybe whoever made this deck it was, though, because they did a really nice job of drawing them. Well, hey there, this is Ina from Taproot Tarot, and I have this cool deck to show you that I was just recently reminded of, and it is from Patrick Valenza at Deviant Moon. It's one of their restorations, and it turns out I think this is actually a facsimile, so this might actually be my first facsimile deck. It's from 1865, Edoardo Dotti, Lombardy Tarot, and it's just really cool. I don't know anything about it other than what's in this box, so I haven't researched the exact history of it, but it's so cool and so pretty. I just wanted to show it to you. It is reproduced as found, so including the wraparound edging, and that is why we have borders around our cards, because the backs were glued on separately and then wrapped around the front. And in a lot of the facsimiles, and in fact, I have to say, I have another facsimile that I had a video not too long ago where I was saying that it was my first facsimile deck, and now I'm realizing I have a couple others at least. But I have the Spencer's Minchiati, which is just a really cheap little deck, but it's a really cool reproduction, and you can see where the borders were folded around and pasted on. So it even covers up some of the front image because, you know, these were mass produced and they were making them quick. So this one is like that as well. And it is made from older wood cuts. So the father of the creator, Teodoro, had the original woodcuts. So this art is older than 1865, and there is some modification to the King of Batons and the Ace of Coins. And I can point out what's different on the Ace of Coins. I don't know about the King of Batons though. Here is the back, and I love this. I know it's very simple, but it just really, I love it so much, and I can't really even tell you why. But to me, even though this is a fairly new deck as far as tarot cards go, this harkens back to earlier times to me and just feels very antique, and maybe even based on, you know, some ancient Roman designs or patterns. So I just think it's really cool. This is a deck made in Italy, in Milan, and that's about all I know about it. So let's take a look. The colors are beautiful. I did round this deck, so you can see here it came with square corners, which is traditional, and I rounded the corners on the smallest setting. But it just has this 4-color pattern, but I just think it's such a gorgeous combination of this burnt orange and magenta, kind of a nice aqua green and a deep indigo blue. It's just so pretty. And this dog is being very precise in his bite. He's really going for something there. The faces in this deck are also really lovely. So we've got Il Matto. This is labeled Il Bagatelle instead of Il Bagato. And you can see he's a cobbler. He's got some shoe repair accoutrement on his table. La Papesa, so beautiful. And we have the Empress with a blank shield, which is interesting, and a very sweet face. Just a really well-balanced, pretty art to the card. This is a cool Emperor. Instead of the usual eagle, he's got this lion. Give you a nice detail of that. How cool is that? It's a little crown, but also an emperor's, so it's like he laid down his king crown and is holding the emperor globe instead. And just even some really delicate detailing, delicate placement of the feet. It's really pretty art. A little bit reminiscent of the style of the Soprafino or the ancient Italian tarot. I really like the face on this Pope. It's just a very human looking. They have great eyebrows in this deck too, and there are several supplicants, which is sometimes the case. Oh, actually there's a 4th one right here. I hadn't noticed that guy before. I love noticing things for the first time in a deck. And the Lover card has a masculine figure here. Masculine figure in the middle and a feminine figure over here. It has a blindfolded Cupid, so this would appear to be a derivative of the type 1 tarot rather than the more common type 2. And here we see a scalloped canopy across the roof of the chariot. And you can see here where the back, where it was pasted down, covers up the title. And that happened pretty commonly. You can also see here a figure that looks like it could be a Sphinx head. And in 1865, we're already 150 years into the occultists making esoteric interpretations of the tarot. So while I imagine this deck was still created, maybe primarily for card playing, but also maybe at this point in 1865, also partially for divination. And a lot of the occult tarots replaced these horses with sphinxes, Egyptian-style sphinxes. So this could be maybe an early version of that, or even a nod to what some of the other occultists were writing about the tarot at the time. Gorgeous Justice card. There are great feet, really well detailed feet in this deck. And all the clothing is just so beautifully draped and beautifully patterned. There's really a lot to look at in this deck. And we've got the Hermit, again with some stylish sandals and some great feet. And his forehead wrinkle could be interpreted as a third eye, which may have been intentional. Like I said, the occult interpretations of the tarot would have been well developed by this time, or even in Edoardo Dotti's father's time. So it's possible that was put in there as a little bit of a nod to the occultists. I have no idea. Like I said, this is conjecture. I have not studied this deck, but look at his face and the curls in the beard and hair. Just very beautiful. Really pretty Wheel of Fortune with a gorgeous fox here. I'll give you a close-up of this little guy. Look at him. And I see this flame here sometimes. Some Wheels of Fortune, it'll have flames beneath. So the people who are on the upswing are coming out of the flames, and the people going down are going into the flames. But this is placed on the side, and I haven't looked into what that means. The flame often represents in the older tarot decks, represents divine love or love for a higher power. So the charity card in the Minchiati, or just depictions in general of the charity virtue, the figure is pictured holding a flame, and that is actually, it's supposed to be a flaming heart. It just looks like a flame. Sometimes it is pictured as a lantern or candle as well. So I wonder if this is supposed to represent divine love or love for a higher power over yourself, but I'm not sure. I'll have to look into that. Look at this Strength Fortitude card. Again, great feet. And I'm not like obsessed with feet or anything. Don't get the wrong idea. Maybe whoever made this deck was, though, because they did a really nice job of drawing them. But oftentimes Fortitude is very serene and accomplishing something difficult with seemingly no effort. But not this person. She is working it and really overpowering this lion. And you can see the lion fighting back, just the rippling muscles and strain. Her SCMs are really strained in her neck there. And she has a great expression on her face. So yeah, really love this Fortitude card. It's really dramatic. Now, on the other hand, though, we have a more serene Hanged Man. And that's interesting. That would be a newer occult idea, because usually the Hanged Man looks at least moderately inconvenienced, if not in agony, because the earlier ideas of this card are that he is being punished and even tortured. But not this guy. He seems pretty cool, and he has a great tunic. I love that pattern there. So yeah, again, maybe a nod to some of the occult writings that would have already been contemporary at the time of this art. But I'm not sure. Okay, this is really cool. So first of all, it's a neat multicolored death card, but he's labeled. He not only has the number, but he is labeled, but it's not La Morte. And I had to do an image search to translate this. And this means equality, y'all. How cool is that? So I've often talked about death as the great equalizer, and this doesn't portray that in the image, but it often is portrayed by the heads of both peasants and clergy and royalty being on the ground. And sometimes it's, the different trappings of professions. Like there are some cards that portray crowns and pope hats. I'm sure that's not what they're called, but that's what I call them, pope hats, as well as swords and shields. Art, I've seen ones with paintbrushes and palettes, as well as tools of manual labor, all just scattered on the ground because those things aren't a part of who we really are. We leave those behind in death. So it's interesting to think about. So yeah, equality. What a cool name for this card. I just love it. And we've got a lovely temperance. I'm starting to lose my light, so I will speed it up, but look at the draping on her dress. Just gorgeous. We have some mountains in the back. Could those be reminiscent of pyramids? Maybe. Now, again, I don't want to be misinterpreted because obviously the Egyptian origin of the tarot cards is a myth. But at this time, with the writings about the tarot of the time, that would have been considered a distinct possibility. So if these are meant to look like pyramids, it could be a nod to those writings at the time. And she's got vessels of water. I interpret this as water. A lot of people see it as mixing water and wine, or various other interpretations, alcohol, watering down alcohol, perhaps. I still interpret it as the virtue would be. The dictionary definition of temperance is controlling your emotions, and emotions are often represented by water, and I just feel like she has really skillful control over this water, over her emotions. And of course, that's not the only meaning of any of the cards. Have a variety of meanings, but to me personally, that's the root meaning for temperance. Here we deviate from the type 1 imagery, which would have a face on the devil. This one is more like a satyr with I like to call them furry pants, but it's really, I think, supposed to be their legs, both on the imps and on the devil himself. And we have these colorful butterflies / bat wings. And I don't remember which tradition this is from, and I don't want to misspeak. So this is a pattern that's being borrowed from, though. Very cool tower or lightning card. And I want to point out how the lightning is depicted here. Some people will misinterpret that as lightning coming out of a sun. But in this older style of art, a lot of the celestial bodies were depicted in ways that we would interpret today as a sun. So like these stars look like suns. The moons look like suns. There are some cards that have really distinct rays coming from the moon, I should say, which look today to us like a sun. But back then, any light rays were depicted in the same way. And so here we have the sun looking like a sun. And these are not rain or water droplets. That is just how rays of light coming down were depicted. So if this looks like a sun to you and that's how you interpret it, that is cool. But it's important, I think, to look at the context of the time. And this is just how lightning was interpreted as a celestial body sending down a bolt of lightning. And then these, they look kind of like grapes, but I think they're smoke. Again, we just have to remember that in this wood cut art style, the images are just simplified. And so we have to kind of think about the limitations of the art style and then interpret what those representations are. We have a fully knocked out, possibly deceased person at the bottom, and then this person is blindfolded. That is probably symbolic. I don't know of what. Beautiful star with nice layered tree there. Nice moon. Now, I always interpret the solar twins as brother and sister, even the ones in the more traditional Marseillaise. And some people might interpret these as adults, but you can see she is wearing a shorter dress and pantaloons. So they might be adolescents or teenagers, but they are not considered adults yet. And I see them as brothers and sisters hanging out in the yard. The ancient Italian tarot has one where these two are dancing in the courtyard or in the back garden or whatever. And they do look more like adults, but you can again see, if you look at it, I don't have it handy, but she's wearing a shorter dress and pantaloons, which would indicate a younger girl who's not yet considered an adult. So I don't ever tend to interpret these as romantic love. I tend to interpret them as brother and sister interactions. Really pretty emotional judgment card. And again, these might look like rain droplets to us now, or flower petals, or any number of things, but this is just how beams of light were portrayed. And you can imagine those really heavenly looking clouds that we see sometimes that look all divine, that are backlit by the sun with rays coming down. I think that's what's being interpreted here. It makes a lot of sense for the card. Really pretty world. All right, I'll just go through these a little quicker. I am losing my light. Gorgeous cup. Get the lion heads on this Two of Cups. We have, it says made in Milan. Oh, and there's a bullhead on this one too. How cool is that? Very pretty. These cups are not copies of each other, but they are so uniform. You have to look really closely to see that they're individuals. Then we do have one larger cup on the 10. Very sweet Page of Cups. I like these windows in the Queen of Cups card. Again, just a lot of lovely drapery details in the clothing. Got some oak leaves. Here you can kind of see both the green and the blue. They're just slightly different, but they're so pretty. Nice sturdy valet of batons, or Fonte di Bastoni. Look at this horse. He means business. One of my faves, the Queen of Batons. I love how she has a green crown of laurels. And she does have more of a sweet face than what I prefer. She is smiling, but you know, she's got some strong eyebrows and a direct gaze and kind of a tight-lipped smile. So it's kind of like she'd be perfectly happy to whip you with a smile on her face. But that's probably just my interpretation of this card. You can see a little lion right here, which appears to be the end of her arm of the chair, but just very cool details like that. Lovely King of Batons. Look at all these details. Just gorgeous. And there's something, apparently this card is modified, I'm not sure how. Modified from Edoardo Dotti's father's version of these cards, Edoardo Dotti. This is the other modification, and here we have a stamp. It's a tax stamp. And you can see that it is a masculine Roman figure reclining on a chair. On a chaise, perhaps. And then I'm guessing at least the first name was changed. And since the information was printed on the Ace of Coins, we get just a decorative Two of Coins, and it's beautiful. This is interesting. So the Four of Coins often has something artistic and different in the middle. Here we have an Emperor's globe, but it's upside down, and you can tell because the back is not reversible. So it would make more sense looking like this. It's likely a printing mistake, but who knows? Maybe it means something. I don't know. Love all the horses in this deck. I just love how, even with a limited color palette, how colorful it is. Just an effort to alternate all the colors to make it as colorfully engaging as possible. I love this Queen of Coins. Look at her headdress, her blue hair, her gorgeous dress, and the way even her shawl is draped around her. It's just so pretty. The cushion that her feet are resting upon. Such a great card. Also, a beautiful King of Coins. Look at that detail. The colors are a little deeper here, which is interesting. Just beautiful. More oak leaves. This order is just the way I ordered the cards. It doesn't have a guidebook, so I had to reorder it in my way. I'm pretty sure it did not come ordered this way. I like the balance of how the numbers are placed this way instead of on the sides. Very stylish and elegant valet of batons, or I'm sorry, valet of swords. And a slightly armored knight of swords with a helmet on. A very battle-ready looking horse. Lovely queen. Again, just gorgeous draping. Some fur, adding texture there. And a very confident and elegant younger king of batons. Gosh, I mean swords. So that is the Lombardy Tarot from Deviant Moon by Patrick Valenza. Here is the beautiful back again. Place this so it's out of the shadow. And I will just show you the box real quick. The box is so thoughtfully done. I'm losing enough light that you can see my camera light, sorry about that. But every single surface is printed. So it is a beautiful box and so thoughtfully done. Even each surface of the lid, like the inside of the lid is printed. How pretty is that? It's a great box. It's got that little bend here. That makes it easier to get the cards out. So good stuff. I love it. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for joining me. And I hope you appreciated this little random impromptu deck show and tell today. Thanks again. I'll see you next time.